David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Today we've heard a number of arguments that are serious arguments made by people that are against this bill, and we recognise those arguments, and I don't think anybody in this House would want to look at those arguments and dissuade the public from the importance of discussing them, and also from acknowledging the role that people have had in this House and wanting to make sure that we actually deal with some of those issues. And I think they are serious things that everybody in this House takes dearly and would not want to see happen. But then at the other side of this argument is that we are dealing with a bill here tonight that is basically one of freedom of choice. It is New Zealand's national game. It is the 1 in 4 years scenario that comes around where New Zealanders celebrate their national game on the world stage. This is the time when people come together, whether they're rugby fans or not. They come together in their communities and they support their country on the world stage. To deny our people the ability to celebrate our heritage, our culture and our future and history in a public place is to deny our people the very essence of being New Zealanders. Why would we want to do that to our people at their very time of enjoyment and pride in their country? It's not about whether we win or lose. It's about wearing the black jersey out there and representing New Zealand to the highest levels. And New Zealanders are proud of their sports teams, and they are no more proud of any other team than the New Zealand All Black team. And why not be part of that pride? Why not let New Zealanders celebrate the success that has been our national game for years and years and will be going into the future? And this is what this bill is about. It is not an attempt to hijack the liquor laws that have been passed in this parliament in recent years. It is no way an attempt to limit or to discourage what those laws attempted to achieve in regard to public and especially family and women's security in the home and in other places. This is a bill that's about giving New Zealanders some enjoyment, some pride and some belief in their country. And why do we want to sit in this House and deny our people the very part that they want to see and happen? Nobody forces anybody to go to a bar at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody forces any New Zealander to have a drink at that bar. That is a choice that person may or may not make. That person may well be at home drinking all night and going through to the morning. They may well make those choices in their life. But this is not something, and members across the room laugh, well, that will not be a laughing matter. That is the reality where a lot of those domestic violence cases happen, because it will be after a long night of drinking and then the game in the morning that many of those things happen. It's not that people get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, suddenly decide to go to the pub and then come home and have those kind of situations arise. This is an attack by those people that are voting against it on the fundamental values of what it means to be a New Zealander. And shame on the Green Party. Why would the Green Party want to vote against a bill that enables New Zealanders to enjoy the culture and heritage of their country? Why would the Green Party want to attack people in their own place and doing their own thing? And we see members of the Green Party that are laughing, members that are not born in this country, don't understand the culture and heritage of this country, and they don't get what it actually means to be a New Zealander, to go to the pub and to sit and watch a game wearing a black jersey and to actually understand what this game means to our people and our country. And I want to congratulate David Seymour on bringing this forward to the House. There are local rules around that enable bars to have gone through this process and to be able to have licences, and nobody is not acknowledging that. Those rules exist, and they've been used by many bars in many places. But there are some cases where that has not been used. And in many of those type of instances, we will get to a situation where we will be in the World Cup, we will be playing games, and New Zealanders won't be able to enjoy watching their own team. And it's not just about the New Zealanders that are supporting the All Blacks. There are many New Zealanders in this country that have other teams that they support. There will be a lot of South Africans in New Zealand that will support the South African team. There will be a lot of Tongan, there will be a lot of Samoan, there will be a lot of Fijian families and communities that will want to see their teams play out in the competition. And it is unfair to try and limit these rules to 1 or 2 games, or to games that only New Zealand All Blacks play in, and not to let all New Zealanders watch all games that are part of a competition which we excel in. And that is the point of what we are here tonight to discuss. This is not an attack on the laws around liquor licensing. This is not an attempt to dispel any of the arguments that have been made that are strong and substantial about the rights of many of our people in our community. But it is about the ability of New Zealanders to go out there and enjoy their national game, to enjoy the camaraderie and the ability to get together as Kiwis and to support our country in our national game in an environment which we can all be proud of, our team, whatever the result may be. And so when you look at the Rugby World Cup, that's the 3rd largest sporting event in the year, and New Zealand is defending its title this year. We have a great record in recent games, we have a team that is performing well, and we have one of the greatest ever All Blacks that will be playing in this final competition. Imagine Richie McCaw going into that last game, going out there and winning the World Cup for New Zealand, and New Zealanders not being able to be at the bar to watch it. What would you tell your grandchildren? You couldn't watch Richie McCaw play because the Labour Party members and the Greens were against it.
Order. I think two points. First of all, a member has taken about 7 minutes and only made quite passing reference to the bill. And secondly, the member is not to bring my family into this debate.
I would never bring your family into it, Mr. Speaker.
Order. That's exactly what the member did. He should think before he speaks.
But this bill, Mr. Speaker, is about the sale and supply of alcohol during the Rugby World Cup. And one of the key things around that World Cup will be some of the players playing in that, and some of our last All Black players that will be playing their last games. Richie McCaw, Dan Carter, potentially will be in that team on that day, in that game, and New Zealanders want to be able to watch that and see that history of our country going forward. Pardon? He will be there as well. Yes, there are others as well. And that's what we mean. There is a number of New Zealanders that will be supporting the All Blacks in this game. So we've got to look at these games. They're going to be in a zone time difference that is different from what traditionally we have watched many of our other games that have been Southern Hemisphere games. These games are going to be played in the Northern Hemisphere. They will be at times that are not in tune with the laws that had been passed in the past, which had presumed a New Zealand environment where there were the New Zealand time zones. And so this Parliament should be able to exercise some flexibility around this piece of legislation so that we can enable New Zealanders to watch these games at these important times, because it is part of the culture and heritage of our country going forward. And the Select Committee has considered the submissions made in regard to this bill and has made some recommendations. And we've come to a situation now in the bill where all games will be covered, and that is important, I think, for all New Zealanders, so that those that may not be supporting the All Blacks are able also to watch the games that they take an interest in. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to congratulate David Seymour on bringing this bill before the House. I think he's done a great job in doing so. This is a great bill in the sense of a member's bill, in the sense that it enables New Zealanders to actually exercise that pride and belief in their country and their national game, and they can do that in a way which they can exercise those rights in a way which they can do that is to the benefit of themselves and their enjoyment, but also as part of being a New Zealander and something we should not deny in this House through the use of other legislation and other arguments which are not the intent of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.